Hi everyone, happy Sunday. Thank you again for joining me in my kitchen for another healthy meal in the making here at Cook With Me TV. If you're new here to Cook With Me TV, my name is Ashley Thomas. I'm a registered dietitian in Peoria, Illinois with a private practice, and Cook With Me TV is a side piece of education that I offer for free. What it is a live stream cooking class. So what I'll do is post ingredients of what you need ahead of time so you can go to the grocery store, get everything that you need. And then when Sunday night at 6:30 p.m. Central rolls around, you'll get out those ingredients and get ready to actually cook along with me. So think of it as a virtual cooking class that you take right in the comfort of your own kitchen. And at the end of it, which it's usually only 30 minutes or less, you have a delicious and healthy meal ready to go. So let me know if you are cooking with me tonight. Hey, Kathleen, good to see you. How are you? How are you? Hey, Jenny, thanks for joining. Good to see you. Are you cooking with me tonight? Let me know. So if you are cooking with me tonight, and even if you're watching this on replay, go ahead and use these next couple of minutes to get out all of the ingredients that you need to cook this meal. So tonight what we're cooking is a maple mustard chicken dish with lots of cruciferous vegetables. It's a one-pot meal. We're just going to use one pan to cook everything together, and it's going to be very delicious. So we're touching on the flavors of winter. Winter is coming. It's going to feel like winter here, at least in the next week. So it's a mix of winter and fall flavors. So here's what we've got for tonight. We're going to be doing some Brussels sprouts and cauliflower, both of which fall into the cruciferous vegetable family. And I'll be talking a little bit more about the health benefits of cruciferous vegetables because that is the class topic for tonight. We also are going to throw in apples in with the vegetables. Fall fruit adds a really nice level of natural sweetness in here. And then for our spices, we're going to use some fresh rosemary. If you don't have fresh, you can absolutely use dried. We're also going to be using some cinnamon and some garlic to go along in here. And then of course, we've got our chicken. So we are going to be using chicken thighs, skin on, bone in, because there's lots of flavor in these guys. And chicken thighs, you know, they do have a slightly higher fat content, but it's not going to be anything that's going to break the bank, right? Any one food that might be a little bit higher in fat that you have on a weekly basis is not going to make or break your health or your weight. So again, we're kind of learning how to incorporate foods that we enjoy. I think for a lot of us, using a chicken breast gets really old after a while. It's kind of dry, to be honest. These are very moist. So switching it up with some chicken thighs every now and then is going to be a delicious way to actually enjoy your food a little bit more. And then lastly, if you saw on the ingredients list, we are going to be having a side of bread with this. So instead of doing like a brown rice or a quinoa, the grain in this meal is going to be from bread. So if you could find like a nice crusty multi-grain or whole wheat loaf from your bakery, that would be really good. Or I actually went out on a limb today and tried something new. I baked some bread today and it looks divine. I have to show you. So this is it. There's oats on top, so I don't want them to spill off. I don't want to tip it too much, but there's rosemary and oats on top. This is just made with regular bread flour. And I found the recipe on the kitchen. It's called No Time bread. So it literally took me, I think, 45 minutes to make from start to finish, which is not a lot of time considering bread. So I'll let you know how it tastes. If it tastes good, I'll post the recipe link in the comment section so that you guys can try it out too. Hey, Evan and Casey. Hey, how are you doing? All right, so what we're gonna do is get things rolling here. So if you are cooking with me, the first thing that we're gonna do is start chopping up the cruciferous vegetables. And then real quick, I'm just gonna show you the pan that I'm using. This is just a really wide, somewhat deep pan. It's gonna house quite a bit of chicken thighs and all of the vegetables in here. You could also use something like a Dutch oven, which would give you a lot of room, or a wok would work in this case as well. So really anything that's gonna hold quite a bit of volume. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to chopping. So we're gonna chop up the Brussels sprouts. I'm gonna do those first. And I'm just gonna cut them in half. I'm not gonna do a whole lot of cutting with them. Sometimes the ends can be a little dirty. If that bothers you, either wash them off or you could simply slice off the end like that. If you don't want to do that, go ahead and leave it. I'm just going to go ahead and leave them because mine actually look pretty clean. They don't look too bad. So we'll just slice these guys in half. Does everybody like cruciferous vegetables? Brussels sprouts in particular? I did a presentation yesterday for a neighborhood association, and we were talking about cruciferous vegetables, and several people in the audience really hated Brussels sprouts. And you know, if you watch or partake in this class regularly, then you have probably heard me say before, usually when people don't like a vegetable, it's because they just haven't had it cooked right, or they haven't had it cooked in a way that is good to them. There's lots of different ways that you can cook Brussels sprouts and other cruciferous vegetables so that you can get them into your diet on a regular basis, and it's just finding out how you like them. So this, I think in this dish, they're sautéed, but they're also cooked in a maple Dijon liquid, which really gives them some sweetness, some tanginess, and just makes them taste so good. Okay, so once you get your Brussels sprouts halved, let's go ahead and move on to the cauliflower. And I am just real quick pulling up the show on my phone because I feel like there's a glitch with seeing comments, so I just want to make sure that I'm not missing any comments. Okay, cool. So also real quick, actually, I'll get to that in a second. Let's go ahead and chop up the cauliflower. So if you're not confident with cauliflower, which I totally understand that. I mean, look at this thing. It's a little wild. It's got leaves everywhere. You can actually eat these leaves if you want to. You could include them in this dish tonight if you want. And actually, now that I'm saying that out loud, I think I'm going to do that. So the easiest way that I find to cut cauliflower is to basically lay it on its side that is not going to be extremely wobbly, because we don't want to cut ourselves. We want to make sure that it's pretty sturdy. And I'm just going to cut right through the middle like that. So then it exposes the inside and you can see the stem a little bit better and you know where to cut from there. So then we're just going to cut that stem and the leaves away. So just get your knife in there, and a big chunk usually comes off just like that. And if there's a few leaves left behind, you can either peel them off like that or use your knife to get them off. And there we go. So we'll do that again with this guy. And then what we'll do is just cut them into florets. We're going to try to cut them roughly the same size as the Brussels sprout halves so that everything cooks at the same rate. Hey, Diane. Why does 6:30 come so early? I don't know. I thought the same thing as I was setting up, rushing around, kind of like, why does it come so early? And it's dark out now too. If you can see out my window, I think you pointed that out earlier last week. It's getting dark soon now. Winter is coming. Okay, so then like I said, we're gonna just cut this into florets. If you use your knife, you can usually just kind of come in and release some florets like that. Just try to cut them off the large stem there. We are gonna include the stem though, because there's still lots of good nutrition in that stem. So, nutrition quiz of the night. Can anybody name some other vegetables that fall into the cruciferous family besides Brussels sprouts and cauliflower? No Googling. No Googling allowed. And one of the reasons why the class topic is on cruciferous vegetables tonight is because they contain compounds in them that have actually been shown to prevent cancer. So unfortunately, there's no official recommendation for how many cruciferous vegetables we should be eating a week in order to prevent cancer, because cancer is obviously a very complex topic that we are learning so much more about year after year, but we don't know exactly what the cause is for all these cancers or how to prevent it. So, but we do know that the more cruciferous vegetables that people eat in their diet, the greater they reduce their risk for developing cancer. So that's why usually health professionals will recommend aiming for eating cruciferous vegetables at least 3 times a week if you can. So find or pick a cruciferous vegetable or a couple of those vegetables and figure out how to eat them for dinner 3 nights a week. This is a really good way to start it off. So hopefully you're cooking with me tonight. Hey, Kristen, thanks for joining. Good to see you. Diane says cabbage. Yes, cabbage is absolutely in the cruciferous family. And actually, I forgot to add it onto my slide. So here is an example of several other cruciferous vegetables. Broccoli is one of them. I think that's probably America's favorite cruciferous vegetable. Kale and arugula, those leafy greens, fall into the cruciferous family as well. Brussels sprouts, of course. Radishes, all types of radishes. There's lots of different kinds of radishes. These red ones are the most common that you'll see in grocery stores here in the US. But there's also things like, there's daikon radish, which is used a lot in Japanese cooking. There's lots of different, there's black radishes, purple radishes that are kind of long in shape. Lots of different radishes out there. Turnips, which are popular in the winter. You can throw them into soups and stews. Some people just like them roasted. Some people really like them raw, dipped in hummus. If you're here in Peoria, Sous Chef adds turnips to their hummus snack box, which is really delicious. So they've got hummus in there with like sliced turnips for dipping, kind of like a chip, as well as carrots and a couple of other root vegetables. Really good stuff. Diane says, oh, I love turnips. I love turnips too. I don't cook a lot with them, so maybe I'll set that as a goal for myself to cook a little bit more with turnips this season. And then kohlrabi. Kohlrabi is like a Japanese vegetable, and you can absolutely throw that into lots of different things. We do have a couple recipes on our cookwithme.tv website that use kohlrabi, so definitely head over there and check that out. Okay, so we have Brussels sprouts, we have cauliflower. Now let's go ahead and chop up our apples. So these apples are actually picked from my dad's backyard orchard. He has about 8 different apple trees. These are called Ida Reds. They have a tiny bit of tartness to them along with their sweetness, and I just really, really love them. They're so good. So we went and visited my parents last weekend. It was my dad's 70th birthday, and brought back a huge bushel of freshly picked apples. Love it. We've been going through them like crazy. I was worried that they would go bad before we ate them all because we got so many, but they're not going to go bad. There's no way. There's like a third of them left. So again, I'm just cutting this apple into bite-sized pieces, roughly the same size as these vegetables. You can cut these a little bit bigger than these pieces because the apples will likely cook down faster than your vegetables. So if you don't want them overly mushy, then cut them a little bit bigger. If you don't really mind them softer, then cut them about the same size. So Diane is saying she likes her turnips boiled and mashed like potatoes. Ooh, that's a good idea. Have not tried that. I'll have to try that. I guess you can do that with a lot of things, right? Like you can do that with cauliflower. I don't know, what else can you do that with? That sounds good. I've used in like all of those, but kohlrabi I've never cooked. Kohlrabi is not always found in grocery stores either, so it might not be something that you see a lot. Okay, last apple. You can cut your apple any way you want. If you have an apple core, go ahead and use that. I just simply do 4 cuts around the core, trying to get as close to the core as possible without getting all the seeds in my slices. So I've got just that core piece left. Oh, these apples smell so good. So on the topic of cruciferous vegetables, we know that they're extremely important to be including in our diet on a weekly basis. Like I said, try to get them in 3 times a week. If you're having trouble figuring out or coming up with ideas or ways to introduce them 3 times a week, then what I'm doing is, if everybody is interested, is creating a mini handout that will give you tips and tricks and ideas to incorporate cruciferous vegetables into your daily life 3 times a week. So I'm going to put a link here in the comments section, and you can sign up to receive that handout. And once you enter your email address, you will get a confirmation message that I have your email address. And then once the handout is finished, which should be done by the end of the week, you will receive the ideas in your inbox. So just trying to generate some interest here, see what everybody is wanting to, what you find useful, I guess would be a better way to say that. Okay, finish chopping up these apples. And then what we're gonna do is throw everything into our pan and start cooking. So go ahead and get whatever pan you're using out, put it on about a medium heat, get some olive oil in the bottom, and then go ahead and throw in all of these, excuse me, veggies and apples. Ooh. I think maybe the gas from the stove got me. I don't know. Whew. All right, I'm throwing all these in. I'm gonna let these cook down for a little bit before we throw the chicken thighs in here. I've got mine on about a medium-high heat. And let's go ahead and season with a little bit of salt and pepper. And then we'll also get our cinnamon and rosemary in here. I know the cinnamon sounds strange with vegetables. It's going to help to bring out the natural sweetness of the apples. We're not going to add too much cinnamon in here, but it is nice to have as an accent flavor in this dish. And like I said, I'm using fresh rosemary. You can use dried rosemary. I'm going to use about 1 sprig, a full sprig here of this fresh rosemary. If you're using dried rosemary, I would start with 1 teaspoon of dried rosemary. You're always going to use less of the dried herb than you would the fresh because it's so concentrated in flavor. You don't want to overpower. I'm just going to give it a quick run through with my knife. We'll go ahead and pop that in, also with a little bit of cinnamon here. And if I was measuring the cinnamon, I would say half a teaspoon. You can always add more. Stir this up. Let's go ahead and chop up some garlic too to add in here. Get a little aromatic going. You could also add onion in here. You know how good onions are for us. Onions are always a good thing to add into cooked vegetable dishes. I'm gonna do 2 of these guys. Actually, let's just do 3. Why not? Smash them open. We'll just slice the garlic. You can mince it if you want, chop it however you want. Oh, it smells so good. Wonderful. We'll throw this in, give it a quick stir. We'll put a lid on everything so we can trap some heat, get things cooking a tiny bit faster. What I'm going to do is add just a little bit of water to the pan here to prevent things from sticking to the bottom. Ooh, gosh, sorry. That was very unpleasant. Sometimes I do that when I'm sauteing vegetables, especially if I started at a little bit too of a high heat. Let's see. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this down to medium, low, put a lid on it, and we'll let these things cook. And we'll get ready to throw our chicken in. Hi, Mary, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Diane is saying, oh, I was jonesing for KFC. What a truly horrible idea. 2 small pieces, but I'm miserable now. And the salt, yikes. If memory serves me right, the last time I did this, I swore off KFC. Oh no, I know. I've been there. It sounds good in the moment, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get my hands on this. And then you eat it, and what, 15, 20 minutes later, you're like, oh, it don't feel so good. Did you have anything else with it, or was it just 2 pieces of chicken that made you feel not so good? You got any vegetables at home that you can wash this down with? Okay, we are going to quickly, actually, you know what? We're gonna nestle those chicken pieces into the vegetables right now and get the chicken starting to cook. Then we'll whip together the maple Dijon sauce and then pour that over everything and let that cook. So that being said, I am going to go ahead and add these guys into the pan. I have 6 thighs here. I'm feeding 4 people tonight. Having leftovers is always a good idea. I'm not quite sure if they'll fit in the pan though, so we'll see. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just try to make a little room for each thigh. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna do 4. We'll just do 4. That's okay. It's okay. Put these guys in here. Okay, I'm gonna give my hands a quick rinse. Well, not a quick rinse. I'm actually gonna wash them with soap because salmonella. Definitely don't want any of that running around in the kitchen. Diane saying, just the freaking chicken. Oh, I have some cabbage, which I eat as a snack. Oh, there you go. That might help. I mean, sometimes when we eat a high-fat meal, which the fried, even just 2 small pieces of fried chicken will probably have quite a bit of fat in it, it can make you feel, you can get indigestion from it. Sometimes it can give you reflux, and it just feels really heavy in your stomach. So, and it creates an acidic state in the gut as well. So one way to neutralize that is to actually introduce either a fruit or a vegetable that can kind of help neutralize the stomach and maybe make you feel a little bit better. So yeah, I love that you snack on cabbage. I love raw cabbage too as a snack. It's got kind of like a sweetness to it. I know that sounds strange to say that about a vegetable and especially cabbage, but that's kind of how I think of it when I eat it raw. Why do you like it? What are the flavor profiles that attract you to eating cabbage? All right, a little bit of salt here. And I will say, I don't usually eat the skin off of these. I just like to leave it on to give it more flavor while it's cooking and then keep it moist because it, can dry out a little bit. So just trying to prevent that. Also, one reason that I'm eating chicken thighs more often is because they are actually good for women who are pregnant. Bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs, like I said, do contain a little bit more fat, which is good for pregnant women. And there's glycine in there as well. When you slow cook bones, animal bones, you get glycine in the diet, which is good for helping my baby develop collagen and also help my stretching skin stay healthy right now. So for me in particular, the chicken thighs are healthy, but like I said, you don't have to have them every time. But if you're getting tired of chicken breasts, kind of like the same old cut of chicken, introducing a new type of or a new cut of chicken can really save things in the kitchen. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that maple Dijon sauce together. I'm gonna grab a bowl to mix all of this stuff in. So go ahead and grab a mixing bowl of any kind, as well as a whisk. And then go ahead and get out your apple cider vinegar, your maple syrup, and your Dijon mustard, and then a little bit more of your rosemary. And what we're gonna do, excuse me, is just add all of these ingredients into your bowl. So I'm gonna do roughly half of a cup of apple cider vinegar. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. You can use any mustard you like. I really love the tanginess of the Dijon in this though, and it goes really well with chicken and rosemary, I have to say. And then a little bit of maple syrup just for a touch of sweetness, a little bit of a fall flavor here. About a tablespoon. And we'll go ahead, mix this all together. We are going to add a little bit of oil in here to thicken things up. So I'm going to use an olive oil. You can go use whatever you have on hand. I'm just going to drizzle in a tablespoon or 2 of olive oil. We'll mix this together. We'll throw it into our vegetables and let everything cook. It's quite simple. And now all we have to do is wait for the chicken thighs to be done. Pour that in. And everything will start to cook down a little bit more. If you feel like you're losing the liquid, you can absolutely just make another quick batch of this maple Dijon mustard sauce to add into your pan. I can see that there's about 1/4 inch of this covering the bottom of my pan right now. So I'm gonna let things do their thing for a while, maybe like 5-10 minutes. I'm gonna turn the heat up to about a medium high, and we'll get this cooking. If I feel like I need to add a little more liquid, then I will. I cooked the first half boiled and steamed in chicken stock. Oh, that sounds good. Boiled cabbage is so sweet. Yes, when it's boiled, you are correct. And I didn't remember that, but yeah, it does taste a little sweeter after you cook it or boil it. And then the raw, you like the texture and the crunch for snacking. Yes. You can actually use cabbage to dip into things. Dressing, hummus, whatever it is that you like. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're simply waiting for everything to come up to a heat and really cook that chicken through. The chicken thighs don't take very long to cook. Of course, that depends on how thick your cuts are. I'm gonna let mine sit there for about 15 minutes. They should be done by then. We'll check them periodically, but now would be the time for you to slice your bakery bread and maybe toast it if you want to toast it. So let's go ahead and do that. And like I said, I did my homemade bread. I'm so excited to show you what that, well, I showed you what that looked like earlier, but I see we have some new viewers on, so you guys can check out this beautiful loaf of bread, which is still a little warm. Ta-da! Look at it. It's beautiful. Oats everywhere. No big deal. A little bit of rosemary on here. This is just a simple recipe that I found on The Kitchen, like I said, And while I have you here, I will just show you where I found it. So real quick, let me do one thing and I can take you on my Google search journey. Let's see if this works. All right, bear with me 1 second. For those of you who are watching while I'm doing this, let me know. I'm curious to know, what are your barriers to cooking healthy? Is it time? Is it money? Is it not knowing what to cook? So like think through your week, and when you come home from work, like what is it that makes healthy eating or cooking difficult for you? Okay. Well, so much for taking you on my Google journey. Let's see. Oh, well, it is working, right? Whoop. No, I don't think it is. Can you all see what I'm doing? Just curious. Okay, you know what? This isn't really working. I'm not gonna do this. What I'm gonna do is just paste the link of this bread into the comment section, and you can check it out for yourself. So there you go. There's the link. Very simple. Bread flour. So it starts with yeast. So if you use 2 packages of yeast, you put them in a big bowl with about 1.5 cups of warm water, a tablespoon of sugar, whisk it together vigorously, let it sit for about 1 or 2 minutes until it starts to bubble up. And then I'm just gonna check this real quick. And then mix in your flour. So like I said, I was using bread flour. You could experiment. I am not a baker, so I'm not entirely sure how you would, what the ratios of certain flours would be. But the bread flour, it looks like it worked really nicely. I think it's pretty soft. We'll cut into it and see in a second. But experiment. You put in some oat flour or some whole wheat flour or spelt flour if that's what you have at home, whatever you have. Or just start with the basic bread flour and then experiment from there after that. So you add the flour in. What else? That was it. It was just the flour. So it's the yeast, the water, the sugar, the flour, and there was a little bit of balsamic vinegar in there. It's probably an acidic agent that does something for it to rise quickly. But it was just like 3 teaspoons, or no, it was 3/4 of a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. So not a terrible amount. You need that, or mix it with a dough hook on your standing kitchen mixer for about 5 minutes. You put it in a bowl and cover it with a wet kitchen towel. Put it in the microwave for about 25 seconds. Let it sit for a few minutes. Put it in again for another 25 seconds, and then let it sit on your counter for about 30 minutes to let it rise. And in the meantime, you have your Dutch oven in the oven heating at 400 degrees. And then once your dough has risen after that 30 minutes, you put it into a ball, plop it in that preheated Dutch oven, make your slits in the top. I just did one across and one the other way. I then sprinkled on some oats, some sea salt, and some fresh rosemary and put that in the oven for, I think it was just 15 minutes that it was in the oven. So really easy, really quick. So now the verdict, right? Let's cut it open and see how it actually tastes. I love crusty bread. It's gonna be so nice to soak up the juices of the maple Dijon mustard sauce too. So far, so good. It looks nice. I bet putting the rosemary inside of this bread would have been really nice too. How does everyone like their bread? Do they like butter? Do you like to dip it in olive oil and herbs? That's pretty good. Not gonna lie. It's nice and crispy and chewy on the outside, really nice and soft and moist on the inside. First time making this, it was really good. Diane's saying not a baker either. I am not a good recipe follower either. I love that. I substitute for ingredients that I forgot to get. And that's what you do, right? I mean, that's what makes cooking easy. If you want cooking to be sustainable, you can't just throw in the towel every time you're missing an ingredient, right? I do the same thing. No, this is so good. If and when I bake bread, it gets all eaten warm with butter. Right there with you, sister. Although I can't eat it all because I have to share it with the family. Oh, and I don't even have butter on this. It's going to be so good warm with butter. I'm so excited. This is a beautiful mess on my kitchen counter right now. This cutting board is just beautiful. Okay. Let's go ahead and check. Things are looking good over here. Ooh. Smelling good. I'm gonna stir some things around. Get those chicken pieces really nestled in there. I am going to use a meat thermometer to determine if everything is done. Because we're adding raw chicken to partially cooked vegetables, we really want to make sure that that chicken is done to temp, which should be 165. It looks like the apples are definitely softening up. The Brussels sprouts and cauliflower are getting there. They still have a little bit of bite to them. I don't think the chicken is quite done, but I'm just going to go ahead and temp it and just see where we're at. Hi, Kiki. That is if I can find the meat thermometer. Because you know what happens to that meat thermometer in the kitchen. All right, meat thermometer is MIA. I found its case, but it is not where it belongs. Understand, it rarely makes it past removal from the oven. Oh, bread. It's such a wonderful thing, and it has such a bad reputation. Don't you hate that? I feel like bread is demonized here, especially with the gluten-free craze. Bread, though, has been a staple in our diets for centuries. It is the most basic form of nourishment that we can have, especially when it's homemade, right? Okay, I I can't find the meat thermometer, so I'm now totally going against everything that I just said. Let me check one more spot. All right. Can't find it. So in this case then, what I'm going to do is cut it open in the pan to see if it's done. You can tell if it's fully cooked through that way, obviously. If it's not raw looking and pink, then it's done. So what I'm going to do is try to find the fattest, thickest piece, because that would be the piece that would be less likely to be fully cooked. So we want to go with that one, which I think is this guy right here. So I'm going to cut. Yeah, these are not done yet. So what I'm going to do is flip them over, start cooking them on this other side. Also get that side and some nice juices. I am going to whip together a little bit more of this sauce to throw on top. So if anybody is cooking with me, you know, if you feel like doing the same thing, by all means. That bread is so good. Well, so if you don't have warm, freshly baked bread on you, but you do have a store-bought bakery loaf, what I recommend doing is slicing off some thick pieces that you want to serve and either pop them in your toaster or toast them in a skillet on the stove while this is cooking, so that you've got some nice crispy, warm, crusty bread ready to go when your chicken comes out. I know we've had 4 meat thermometers at one time as well, and then realized that 2 of them weren't working. So we tossed those, and then there's 2 around here somewhere. MIA, of course, though. Do you use a pokey thermometer or an electric battery laser type? I just use the pokey thermometer with the dial with the hand. We've had an electric thermometer in the past. Again, that was one that was broken, so we threw it out. But I normally use the pokey one with the hand. Do you normally use your meat thermometers, or are they kind of one of those kitchen things that you just don't really use much of? You have them because you feel like you should have them, don't really use them. Okay, I'm gonna do half this amount that I did the first go around, so I don't need too much more. Whisk this together. My mom got me this nice silicone whisk because the metal ones are just loud when I'm recording. So hopefully this is nicer on your ears. Diane, you do use them. Awesome. Good, very good. And they can really come in handy with like steaks. If you're doing steaks or burgers and you know that you want them to be medium rare or medium, and you don't want to overcook them, find out what temperature number equates to your medium or medium rare, and then you know to cook it just to there so it's not overcooked and leathery hard, because that's no bueno. All right, I'm gonna pour the last bit of this in here. Awesome. Put a lid on it. Because we are cooking the Brussels sprouts a little long, they are going to get kind of that olive green. If you don't really like them like that and you still like a lot of bite to them, I would throw them in maybe last. Don't throw them in first. Throw them in after you do the chicken so that they don't cook as long. Diane, I'm dying for that loaf of bread. Oh, you use the finger push for the steak. Ooh, that is a pro move. Excuse me. I think it's throwing the vinegar in the pan and having that come up into my face. Hot cooked vinegar makes me cough. Probably will make you cough too. To continue, I have not mastered the art of the push method. So kudos to you. Do you have any tips for that? First of all, how do you like your steak? Medium, medium rare, rare. And then like, how do you know what the resistance feels like? Or how do you liken the resistance to the level of doneness? I've never really felt comfortable doing that. Hey, Michelle. Good to see you. Thanks for what? For being here. For those of you who are just tuning in, I do have a link to grab your email address if you do want tips for cooking cruciferous vegetables in healthier and more enjoyable ways. If you scroll up through the comments, you'll find the link in there, and then you just put your email address in, and once I'm done with that handout, I'll send that over to you. So just trying to help people eat cruciferous vegetables a little bit more in their diet. I know they can be a little tricky to work with sometimes, and sometimes you think you don't like Brussels sprouts, but you just haven't had them in a good way. So hopefully that sheet helps you. Oh, for going live. You're welcome. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. All right. Chicken, chicken, chicken. So we're just waiting on this chicken. I'm going to give it another 5 minutes. And like I said, I'm going to serve it with this delicious bread. So I'm going to go ahead and slice a little bit more of this bread for everybody. It is one delicious loaf. Again, if you're just tuning in, there is a link to make this no time bread in the comments section. Isn't that the most beautiful sound you've ever heard? Wonderful. Whoop. Cut these big guys into smaller pieces. And again, these are going to be used to soak up that wonderful Dijon mustard sauce with our chicken. So I'm going to let these babies cook in the pan for about 5 more minutes until they are fully done. I'll post a final picture of the meal tonight on our Facebook page. No need to keep you on here unnecessarily while my chicken is cooking. So if you are cooking with me, if your chicken's not done yet, enjoy the rest of the cooking process. Enjoy this meal tonight, and I hope that you come back next Sunday. I will post the new schedule for November here shortly. I'm not going to be cooking next week, though. I think I just contradicted myself. I will be out of town, but I will quickly follow along with the following week. So look out for that schedule and the ingredients for the second week of November. Diana saying, no, don't ask how. It's impossible to fully explain. Need someone to cook with you and get you to feel it. I like it rare, but digestive system has told me recently, no bueno. So I have to do at least medium rare. I can get that. It would be much more helpful to have someone kind of compare, feel this means rare, feel this means medium rare. So maybe, where are you again? Are you in Peoria? I can't remember where you are. We could do a guest show and you can teach me how to do the thumb method. That would be fun. Oh, some Turkey Day sides. All right, gotcha. Absolutely, that's a great idea. Hey Miriam, good to see you. I'm actually wrapping up now, but you can absolutely replay the video. We made maple mustard chicken and veggies tonight. It's smelling delicious in here. Things are still cooking just until they're done, and then I'll post a picture of everything at the end. All right, thanks everyone for your attention, and hopefully you decide to cook along with me sometime in the future. Have a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you in a few weeks. Thanks, y'all.